A Nascent Kaleidoscope. Chapter 111. I walked back into the waiting area, the place much quieter than when I left. The stares this time weren't filled with contempt, perhaps something bordering hesitance and respect. I guess wherever you go, people respect strength. Wilhelm, Rufus called out, walking towards me. That was amazing. How did you do that? He excitedly smiled. Little bit of skill, nothing worth mentioning. I smiled. I'm more curious about your little water clones. Oh, well. He scratched his head. They're not really that good. They can't attack. Nonsense. Not every move has to deal damage. They provide a lot of utility in combat. Look how easily you were able to immobilize your opponent. You think so? Rufus looked unsure. The field control you could provide if you utilize them well. I don't know how much control you have of their movements when you create them, but being able to freeze enemies at a whim is no laughing matter. Rufus wasn't the only one who approached me. A woman in a more traditional marital artist garb followed. I thought you were just a clown, but you're actually very skilled. She crossed her arms, not at all intimidated by what happened. I look forward to fighting you at the end. She stated. Arslan, was it? I looked the woman over. Aren't you fighting Piran next? She just snorted. I'll beat her this time. You just better be ready. Well, I'll wait for you then. I grinned. I liked her enthusiasm. Honestly, I really liked the drive that all the people here had. It gave off a completely different vibe than on Earth. Scat-Hack would absolutely love it here. They saw me beat Cobalt like that, and they're basically like, fuck it, let's fight, and don't lose their confidence. I thought I would be bored after a while. I got most of the data I would need, some very interesting things I witnessed regarding aura and semblances, but I was genuinely having fun. Well, the tournament I couldn't much care for. It was the people that made it worth continuing. Curious if this girl would beat Pyrrha. She did mention it being a close fight. Who knows? Wilhelm Schweinorg. I turned around to see a handful of people walking right towards me. Yes. I looked at them. They didn't look like part of the organization hosting the tournament, nor fighters. We'd like to ask you a few questions. He took a badge out of his pocket, flashing it at me. Some kind of police. I didn't recognize the badge, but that was to be expected here. And what exactly are they wanting to question me for? I doubt the tournament rigging is illegal, only against the rules, thus would be kicked out. Sure. I simply answered. I had nothing to hide. What's your relationship with Roman Torchwick? I sucked in a breath of air. Damn it, Roman, what did you do? I couldn't help but facepalm. Am I being detained? We just need to ask you a few questions. One of the guys reassured me. Another spoke up. Kid, we need to know where he's at, if you got any information. Sorry, I have no idea. I glanced around the room as everyone was staring. I don't know who this Roman Torchwick is. I've never met the well-dressed man in my life. These guys gave me a weird feeling, and not because they were cops. We're trying to work with you here. We know you're in the middle of this big tournament. One of the cops stepped forward, a gentle smile on his face. And we don't want to ruin your future by dragging you out under all those eyes. Well, I may know a thing or two. I leaned in as they mimicked me. You see, I heard that Roman Torchwick is prone to wearing women's underpants and copious amounts of mascara. Why don't you? Look, kid. He stepped forward, interrupting me. I don't think you understand what's going on here. Roman Torchwick is wanted by the Australian government. Now, we don't think you had anything to do with his crimes, but we need you to tell us everything you know. I really have no idea where he is. I reiterated. I'm just a kid here, trying to leave his mark on the world. What could I possibly know about such a notorious thief? I'm offended you would think so low of me. You offend me. Good day, sir. I turned around, but a hand was placed on my shoulder before I could leave. Well, guess my bullshitting didn't work. The man just sighed. If you're not going to cooperate, we'll have to do this the hard way. Wilhelm Schweinorg, you're being placed under arrest. Please put your hands above your head. For what? I narrowed my eyes. This seemed more and more suspicious by the second. Accessory to grand larceny, he said sternly, taking a pair of handcuffs out of his pocket. Grand larceny, that means he successfully robbed that gang boss. But why would they be here trying to grab me if he robbed another criminal? I doubt she would have called the police, unless they're on her payroll. Or something really went wrong and I should just leave anyways. Fuck it. With a frown, I grabbed his hands as he tried to put cuffs on me. No. Leaning forward, I grabbed his arm and twisted it, making him drop the handcuffs. You made a mistake, Brad. One of the guys standing in the rear rushed towards me. A weapon drawn from his coat looked like brass knuckles, but they crackled with electricity. The man tried to punch at me. I deflected his fist with the back of my hand and kneed him in the chest, only to be caught by his aura. Letting go of the cop I had in a hold, I pulled the aura user by the arm and flipped him over my shoulder, throwing him onto the ground. Target is hostile. I repeat, target is hostile. The one nursing a hurt hand started shouting into his scroll. That didn't sound good. Why the fuck would they apparently be calling to reinforcements if they thought I was just some mook? The others began to move and I gripped my sword tight. They were way too quick to resort to this kind of reaction. Something lit a fire under these guys, and I am very much in the dark right now. Another dozen or so people burst in through the doors, following behind the ones who moved on me. Put down your weapon and get on the ground. The new guys shouted, but the ones closest to me still moved. This fucking escalated fast. I flashed my sword out, hitting the closest in the face. His aura shuddered, but he still felt a small impact, stuttering in his steps. Another retrieved a gun from his holster, but I stepped forward, grabbing it and twisting it out of his grip, tossing it to the side and chucking him into the nearby wall. The other contestants just looked on, dumbstruck by what they were seeing. Rufus, who was closest to me, just seemed utterly horrified by what he was watching. Seems like I can't finish the tournament now. I didn't feel good about killing them either. Who knows what's actually going on right now? I decided to just leg it, turning around and looking towards the only exist that wasn't swarming with people wanting me in handcuffs. So, I moved towards the doors that went to the arena. Bursting through the open doors, I wasn't the immediate focus of attention. There was a match going on between two people who I didn't really care to remember. They were in the heat of it as I ignored them and continued onwards, except some people began to notice me, and even more so when people started running in after me. I guess they weren't really worried about showing up on camera. Something was definitely wrong here. Well, I just had to go to the other side. There was another exist and another dozen people burst through that door too as I slid to a stop. They must really want to catch me. What the fuck did Roman do? The two fighting in the arena paused. The announcer looked on, utterly confused at the spectacle. Many of the police took out their weapons and aimed at me, a barrage of projectiles coming my way without any warning. I didn't expect kitty gloves after I downed a few of their number, but they were certainly ready to turn to this kind of response in order to incapacitate me. I allowed my aura to flare, blocking all of them, and it was an interesting experience to see my aura get impacted like that. Data to mull over for later. End of the line, kid. A familiar voice boomed. It was the man that I had incapacitated first, his arm looking fine. Throw your sword to the side and get on the ground. I raised my eyebrow. Which sword are you talking about? I asked, not giving him time to answer as I had my other swords fly out of my ring and hover around me. They moved with a thought, shooting towards both ends of a stadium where the police blocked my exits, piercing through defenses, chopping off significant chunks of aura until some fell to the ground, blood dripping from wounds. These people didn't seem very well training in combat. I think a trained huntsman would fare better than this. This was more like they just awakened the aura of a standard police officer. They lacked the true experience of a fighter. They fell to the ground at the stunned silence of every spectator who had yet to start evacuating in the ensuing fight, along with the competitors themselves who followed behind to watch the show. My swords came back, floating to me gently like they hadn't just taken out an entire platoon of police. Dawnbreaker flashed to the side, deflecting a bronze-looking shield that was thrown at me. I turned to look at who threw it. Pyrrha! I was surprised to find her looking at me. W. Wilhelm, what are you doing? What's going on? She looked rather confused and distressed. Her arm trembled slightly, extended to have just thrown her shield. Yeah, this didn't really paint the prettiest picture for me. And Pyrrha was a straight arrow kind of girl. She must be having several thoughts about me right now. I guess we won't be fighting in the tournament. I gave out a small laugh. Why are you doing this? Her tone honestly made me wince. Well, that's a bit of a long answer. Please stop. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Oof. That's not much of an option at this point. I gestured around to the unconscious and beaten bodies of many police and government authorities. Sorry, Red, but I think we need to part ways here. This is just a misunderstanding. We can clear this up," she stated, a small bit of hope in her voice. I couldn't help but sigh at her attitude. Doesn't matter at this point. The damage has been done. I need to leave, Red. Just as I said that, I turned around. I felt something approach me. The area behind me shattered in a familiar way. A petite hand grabbed onto my sleeve. "Neo?" I asked in surprise. Her looks clearly different, most likely to hide herself from all the eyes currently on us. She looked at me with concern in her eyes. She pulled on me and gestured at the exited quite explicitly. "What the hell is going on?" She just quickly gestured, anxiety written on her face. I realized I wouldn't be getting an in-depth explanation from her. "Stop! I won't let you go." Pyrrha took a step forward, reaching her hand out. Her shield shot across the distance, returning to her embrace. I blinked in surprise at what she just did. Some kind of telekinesis. Impressive. "Sorry, Red," I muttered as Neo activated her semblance again as we disappeared from her sight. "Kid, you're alive!" Roman peeked out of a truck window, hands on the ignition, clearly antsy. "Yeah, apparently no thanks to you." I narrowed my eyes. "What the fuck, Roman?" "Okay, that's fair. But it isn't my fault," he retorted as both me and Neo got in the truck. "How is it not your fault? This entire thing was your plan. I didn't expect the bitch to have stolen Atlas tech." He threw his arms up. "Wait, what?" I didn't even notice until after we took it. The schematics for Atlas's latest mechs and weaponry. I heard this shit was stolen months ago. I didn't think it'd end up in her hands. "Do you have any idea what the Atlas military will do when they find out someone has this?" "Why not just ditch it?" "Too late. Too many people know I took it now. Better to keep for a bargaining chip." He took out a cigar, lighting it up. "Maybe I can give it to old Iron Dick, so he won't sick his dogs after me." He sighed. "Fuck, this was supposed to be an easy job. Wait, if you stole it from that gang lady, why did the government come after me?" "Oh, she was going to sell it to them." He turned the key, letting the truck start. They were negotiating a price, and since there wasn't much of a rush, they were taking it slow. He pulled out a stack of papers. "Bitch always did keep detailed records," he said, tossing them to the side. "And now you lit a damn fire under them, because if Atlas finds out they were trying to acquire this stuff, they would come down on Mistral hard. Welcome to politics." He waved his hand flippantly. "They didn't even care about kicking up a fuss during the tournament to grab you, even though they probably thought you were just a patsy." Suddenly, all of our scrolls started beeping. "Alert! Please be on the lookout for the following." An automated message rang out. Both me and Roman's headshots shone with a dangerous criminal. Exercise extreme caution. "Fuck!" I cursed. I didn't want this world to be burnt for me. I like a lot of things here. "It's not as bad as it looks." Roman tried to reassure me as the truck visible changed, Neo focusing her semblance to display a different appearance. It looked like we were in a police car now. "This seems pretty fucking bad." "Okay, it's bad if we stayed in Mistral. Luckily, we live in Vale." "That's fair." I mulled it over. "Will Vale also throw a hissy fit?" "Probably." Roman nodded. "The fuck, Roman? Calm your tits, kid. They'll just do the bare minimum to support Mistral. Don't expect any kind of response like we're getting here." He tossed a cigar out the window. "Just relax, and let's slip out before anyone notices." CRASSSHHHHH. A sudden weightlessness came over me before gravity reasserted itself. The truck went tumbling, rolling on the ground before coming to a stop, something having hit us at extreme speeds. We were all fine, the benefits of aura on their part, only perhaps a bit jumbled from the sudden jerking sensations. "You were saying?" I gave Roman a glare. Chapter 112. "Motherfucker!" Roman shouted, kicking the door open as Neo climbed through the window on her side. The door practically caved in. My door was stuck enough that I just rammed it with my shoulder, breaking it thoroughly off its hinges. I got out in time to see Roman aim his cane up, the bottom sliding open to become a crosshairs as a dust bullet was launched out the bottom. It collided with the vehicle that just ran into us, several people running out as it blew up. "Were those police?" "No, they were wearing Malachite's colors." Roman snorted as we both saw Neo bounce over, taking the two goons down with relative ease. "Nice cane," I commented. "Didn't realize it's a gun." "Ha, more than a gun." He smirked. "Makes me miss mine." I sighed. Was just a hidden sword, but it had sentimental value. Maybe I should get another made at some point. It's not something I would walk around with all the time. I can't really pull off a cane like Roman can unless certain events dictate such a showing. As much as I would love... Roman was interrupted. A bullet whizzed by, nicking his hat. There was a moment of silence as Roman calmly raised his cane again and unloaded a series of dust-based bullets in the direction of the shot. "Well, I think we should get going. How far away is the bullhead?" "Halfway across the city." "Joy." I sighed. This was turning into a mess. "Neo, how are your illusions for long term?" She shook her hand for a SOSO gesture. I saw movement out of the corner of my eye and raised my sword up, a bullet colliding with the flat of my blade right before it would have connected with Neo, or rather her aura. "Careful there!" I sent her a wink. She rolled her eyes, exaggeratedly swooning. "Oh, come off it." I shook my head, another shot ringing out as I stepped to the side. "All right, this is getting annoying. How the fuck did they know where we were?" They apparently set up enough to take pot shots at us. Unfortunately, the spider knows my usual strategies, and Neo used to be one of her best enforcers. He aimed his cane, using it as a gun, and continued to fire away as he noticed more gang members pop up. Wouldn't be surprised if she has ambushes set up all over the place. "Yeah, and you had me grab her attention, so a large amount of her men were probably in the area already, right?" "Well, no one can say you did a bad job as a distraction," Roman offered. "No one could have guessed things turned out this way." "That's true, I suppose. Had everything gone as planned, then the tournament would have still been going on and Roman and Neo could have laid low somewhere without the government kicking down doors." A few screeching tires echoed out as a handful of cards came around the corner, stopping a distance away. Dozens of people getting out, all armed to the teeth. "Mustard!" Roman exclaimed. The man at the forefront growled. He had bleach blonde hair and a tacky yellow suit on. "My name is not Mustard." "Hey there, Mustard, it's been a while." Still rocking that same look, Roman casually ignored his indignation. Neo looked amused by the whole thing. "Hey, Mustard, how's it going?" I waved. His head snapped to me, a scowl on his face. "This Brett your protege or something?" "No." "Yes." "Fuck off, Roman. Kid takes after me." Roman chuckled. "He has that same punchable face." Mustard grunted. "Why do people keep saying that? Do I really have a punchable face?" "Hate to tell you, kid." "Roman, enough." Mustard interrupted. "You know why we're here. Your unconditional surrender." I interjected. "Perhaps an apology for interrupting my tournament?" "Quiet, brat. The adults are talking." I turned to Roman, who raised an eyebrow at me. Then I looked at Neo, who just hit me with a big grin. "Hey, Roman, did you see my first match?" "What the hell are you talking, Abu?" Mustard asked in confusion as I tossed a large dust crystal in his direction. Roman brought up his cane. With a practiced ease, he shot the crystal in midair, initiating a large explosion right in Mustard's face. My eyes widened slightly as the strange yellow barrier blocked the brunt of it, only the faintest shimmer of aura around the goon. Several bodies now littered the area, but most of the men were downed, and the remainder mostly consisted of aura users. The barrier collapsed onto the ground, coating it in a strange, liquid-like texture, almost like... "Yes, that fucking Mustard." I couldn't help but shout. "It's not Mustard, damn it." I couldn't help but start laughing. "Did you think I called him that because of his sense of fashion?" Roman snorted, holding back a laugh himself. "His semblance makes that goopy stuff that looks like mustard." Nia was practically falling over herself, silently laughing alongside us. "Kill them!" Mustard shouting as weapons were raised and fired. Roman jumped to the side. Neo disappeared, and I drew my sword. I didn't feel like getting bombarded by a deluge of bullets, so I dashed to the side behind a building. A man with a tattoo down his face ran at me, axe in one hand as he swung through a light pole with a surprising ease. His skill was mildly surprising. He wasn't just overcompensating with pure strength. Each of his swings that tried to cleave me were followed up with the right movements to capitalize on his build. Flicking my sword, I created a sword phantom that collided with his chest. A single bird was easy enough to do without any setup at this point. He was knocked off his feet, his aura's sheen dipped noticeably as it got much dimmer around his body. Following up with a quick knee to his head, he was knocked down for the count. I noticed so far that aura users are still susceptible to concussive blows, even through their aura, except in a diminished capacity. Aura is certainly not an absolute defense, even if it's at 100%. I looked over to see Neo dancing between several goons, several of which would appear to be on about the same level as this guy. Damn girl. I couldn't help but comment. Her fighting style was quite fun to watch, actually. She turned towards me and gave me a wink, using her umbrella to slap one of the guys in the balls, eyes never leaving my own. Yeah, I can see what you mean, Miltia. Hefting the down guy up, I threw him at one of the goons trying to gang up on Neo as I joined her little brawl. A quick thrust to one holding a hammer as Neo glided behind me, unfurling her umbrella to block another's vision as she swiped at his legs. I turned my sword around and stabbed down at him, a shriek filling the area. Neo vanished with her semblance, appearing behind the one I had attacked previously, kicking him in the back of the knees, then following up with a smack across his face with her umbrella. I slashed out with my blade at the final one, as she slid under and used the hook of her umbrella to yank him forward, letting my sword cut just a little more into his reserves. The man let out a gargle cry before Neo uppercut him in the chin, and I elbowed him in the chest. His eyes rolled back, falling to the ground. We turned towards Roman, who was having a sort of duel with their leader. Careful, Roman, don't get mustard on your shirt. I decided to shout helpful advice, though that seemed to invigorate his opponent for some odd reason, because he just shouted and attacked more recklessly. I looked down at Neo. This was fun. We should do it again sometime. Neo looked up at me inquisitively before enthusiastically nodding her head. Roman finally cracked the goon across the face with his cane, the yellow man falling to the ground. He straightened his hat, walking towards us. Phew, that felt good. He let out a breath. Always hated that guy, such a kiss-ass. If Malachite had a dick, he would have been on his knees every day. I only caught the end of it. Looked like it must have been a hard fight. Roman paused, looking at me as I smiled wide. You just took all the excitement out of my win. He took out a cigar, lighting it up and take a smoke. Well done. Hey! I looked in the distance. Our bullhead's supposed to be flying that close to the city. I raised my finger to the skyline. No, they are not, Roman said evenly. I believe it is time to depart. He turned and very briskly broke out into a sprint to the nearest car and turned the key. Get the fuck inside. Don't let it tell me twice. I hopped into the back seat and didn't even have time to close the door before Roman peeled out and floored it into the opposite direction of what I could only assume was the bullhead. We managed to get several intersections down before the bullhead made it above us. Pull over and get on the ground. This is your only warning. A voice boomed out from the speakers connected to the bullhead. Fuck me, fuck me, fuck me. Roman kept chanting as he swerved around a corner, deeming it better to go down streets with no people. Though it seemed like everyone got the message, as most had already gone indoors. Thankfully, the Huntsman Academy seemed to be on the other side of the city, so it would take a bit for Huntsman response. Neo started tugging on my sleeve, pointing towards the bullhead. My eyes widened as I saw what was happening. Roman, problem. Busy here, he shouted, turning the steering wheel quickly to the side to avoid a police cruiser that just barely missed us, as me and Neo practically tumbled in our seats. A compartment on the bullhead following us opened. A damn missile revealed itself. They're not really going to fire that in the middle of the city, right? I asked Neo, who did not have a reassuring look on her face. It did launch right at us. My Mirage flew out the window to meet it. The explosion erupted right behind the car, causing the back tires to pop with Roman doing his best to not flip us as we grinded to a halt. Roman, what the hell? What did I do? They're firing damn missiles at us in the middle of the city. I gestured. I don't know why. They shouldn't be this gung-ho. He kicked open his door and began firing on the bullhead, though without much success. Fuck, I'm out. He grunted. Me and Neo took cover behind the car. The bullhead hovered above the buildings, guns pointing at us. She did the obvious thing and shielded us in illusions as our previous selves were torn apart by a rain of bullets. Don't suppose you got any ammo on you, kid? Roman looked at me. I got something you can use. I reassured him. Great, what is? I took out the giant purple dildo and threw it, smacking him in the face. It fell to the ground as he blinked. Okay, I'll give you that one. Neo was rolling on the ground laughing, yet still managing to keep her illusions going. Actually, give me that back. I held out my hand. I'll take down this bullhead with that thing. Kid, if you take out that bullhead with this dildo, I'll get you unlimited drinks at Junior's. Well, if I hadn't already decided on this course of action before. I held the thing in my hand, activating my circuits and filling the weapon with reinforcement. Something I never thought I would ever do in my life. Using it like a javelin, I reeled back and threw it towards the pilot's window. It easily penetrated the glass, hitting the pilot right in the face, causing him to lose control and spiral off into the road. Roman and Neo were both silent. I want to adopt you, he suddenly said. Neo looked at me and made a motion of pushing a finger through her other hand with her index finger and thumb making an O. Okay, a lot to process there. Let's shelve all this for now and get the fuck out of here. Right. Roman nodded. The bullhead shouldn't be far away. Roman! The familiar voice of Miltia basically shrieked at us as we finally found our ride. Oh, brothers, can we not? I already got an earful from the kid. Roman sighed. With flames in her eyes, Miltia gestured to the bodies littered on the ground around them. Want a trophy? Roman just snorted. We ran into the same crap on the way here. I took down a bullhead with a dildo. I added. Roman, this isn't what? Miltia paused, looking at me. What? We got company. Melanie shouted over our bickering. Our eyes followed the direction she was looking. Police cars with their sirens blaring down the street. Miltia quickly sat down in the pilot's seat, flicking buttons and starting the engines. Bullhead 7404, A38. You are not clear for takeoff. Turn your engines off. A voice come over the comms. I rolled my eyes. This is Bullhead 7404, A38. I grabbed the communications link, basically looking like a radio. I believe there has been a misunderstanding. We were cleared for takeoff 10 minutes ago. Over. Wonder if I could stall for a few more moments. Bullhead 7404, A38. You're not clear for takeoff. I repeat, you're not cleared for takeoff. If you violate Mistral airspace, you will be considered a hostile entity. This is Bullhead 7404, A38. I have been instructed to inform you that if you do not allow us to safely take off, Roman Torchwick will do to you what he did to the last bullhead that came after us. Oh, what the hell? Roman gawked at me. What did Roman Torchwick do? An older, gruffer voice came over the intercom this time. He said he took the last bullhead down with nothing but a dildo. And he is still very armed at the moment. I smiled at Roman. Proceed at your own risk. I clicked it off. Oh, fuck you. Roman scowled. I just chuckled. That's going to take on a new meaning around you from now on. Brothers, damn it, I'm never going to hear the end of this now. He face-bombed. Everyone sit down and shut up, we're taking off. Miltia raised her voice as we all filed into our seats. The bullhead took to the air before the cops could arrive, and we easily cleared the area, getting up out of the city, but almost immediately 3 more bullheads followed after us. We still got some on our tail. 3, no 4. I squinted. Wait, one of them looks different. Why is half of it painted yellow? Roman perked up. Is that a news bullhead? Are you serious? I looked at him, taking my scroll out and flipping through it until I came up on the news channel. There was a woman with a mic in her hand, hair blowing as her voice was hard to hear over the harsh winds. This is Pearl checking in with a deadly chase that took to the skies just moments ago. I looked at the bullhead from the window and back down to the scroll. We received word that notorious criminal Roman Torchwick and his partner Wilhelm Schweinorg have stolen a bullhead with Mistral authorities in pursuit. We have yet to calculate the damage they've caused in their wake, but my sources say that lethal force has been authorized. Roman, Miltia's voice cold. Did she just say lethal force? I do believe she did. Roman, she said ever so calmly. Why are they authorized to use lethal force on us? Probably because Roman stole super-secret military stuff from your mom, who stole it from Atlas, who then was going to sell it to the government, who was keen on either burying the evidence of the illicit affair or retrieving said secrets. I explained. I better be getting a huge payout for this. Melanie scowled. I noticed you didn't bring any cargo with you. Her eyes narrowed dangerously at Roman. Calm yourself, sweetheart. I stashed the good stuff when I realized how hot things got. Besides, if we play this right, we can probably sell this Atlas stuff for several million lean. Million! Melanie balked. That's a lowball. He smirked. But we need to clear Mistral territory first. Damn, wasn't the haul estimated to only be a few 100,000 when everything was said and done? I'm trying, but they're catching up. We aren't exactly in a military craft here, Roman. Miltia growled, before her eyes widened. They're arming weapons. Shit, we got anything in this hunk of junk. Roman started looking around. It's a civilian airship. Miltia shouted. Why would there be weapons? She turned to me. Wilhelm, do that sword thing. What sword thing? Roman turned to me. Did you not watch the tournament? I was preoccupied. I didn't answer. Miltia, can you open the back? Easy. She flicked a button, and the loading door behind us began to open up. I stepped to the edge. The sudden air almost made me stumble. I allowed my sword to fly out, shooting at the bullheads like missiles, slashing at their wings. Oh shit! Roman gawked. When the hell did you learn to do that? I ignored the question again, staring at the bullheads make a downturn towards the ocean below. They should be fine, I stated, my sword's returning to me, though the news is still following. They'll be forced to turn around in a moment. We're about to leave Mistral airspace. Roman waved it off. Hell, they'll probably be forced to. A shadow appeared under the tides. A massive figure breached the surface, huge waves slamming against the floating wrecks. That is a big fucking sea fei long. Roman looked surprised. I've never seen a Grim that big before. Is that a Titan? Melanie stated. Guys, it's looking right at the cops. I pointed out. Shit, nothing we can do. That's just bad luck. Roman tilted his hat. We're just going to leave them like that? I asked. I don't mind dealing with the gangs, but they guys were just doing their jobs, and they're objectively on the right side of the law here. Kid, we got no weapons. What do you expect to do against something that big? He waved his hand at the massive creature. Just be glad it isn't you down there. He went back to his seat. Damn it. I can't in good conscience leave them there to die. Sorry. I looked at Miltia, who eyed me weirdly. Wilhelm, what are you doing? I stepped towards the edge of the back platform, giving her a smile before I stepped off. A portal opened up below me as I fell through, another appearing high up in the sky, giving me a good look at the sea fei long now below me. It looked almost draconic in nature. A sea serpent with huge wings. Falling through the air, I drew Mirage, and my magical energy exploded out. Spell circles flowed around my blade as I pulled on the kaleidoscope. The sky above me shifted, an aurora sprang out, a cascade of magical energy that created a torrent of color. The thing looked up, focusing on me intently. It unfurrowed its wings, as if to fly up and devour me. I held my sword back, as I gathered the last of the magical energy I needed from an infinite amount of parallel worlds. Ether cannon! I swung my sword as a massive amount of magic was discharged. It collided straight down on the creature, the water displaced and creating a tidal wave in every direction. The iridescent beam of light penetrating the water and completely obliterating most of the Grim along with anything else that lay below. Welp, that takes care of that. The wind almost yanked the binding off my ponytail as I continued to fall through the air. I looked to the side to see the bullhead hovering nearby, Roman at the edge with his cane, when the head suddenly shot off towards me. A grappling hook. God, that's so fucking cool. I grabbed it with ease as he began to reel me in. I was surprised at the tensile strength of this thing. Probably some sort of carbon fiber. You are one crazy motherfucker. Roman huffed, pulling me on board. Hey, thanks for the save. I smiled, even if I could just open a new portal. But it was the thought that counts. Whatever, kid. He snorted. So, the fuck was that? What was what? I smiled innocently. You know. He took out another cigar, and I was now wondering if his semblance created them, because I have no idea where he stashed so many. I'm beyond caring at the moment. He went to his seat and slumped down. Miltia, takes us home, please. I just shrugged, Neo looking at me oddly, and both sisters giving me glances. Well, I guess they share the same sentiments at the moment. This has been an odd adventure. Looking out the window, I noticed the news still hovering over there. Huh. It's not like things could get even worse after getting shown using my magic. Chapter 113. I need a drink. Roman slumped out of the bullhead as we landed. Juniors? I asked. Yup. He popped. Need to give the big guy a heads up on what happened. Junior's going to be pissed. Melanie added. He expected an immediate return. Yeah, well, he knew the risks. Roman seemed uncaring. Besides, it's not like he isn't getting ahead here, it just won't be immediate. Won't the police stop us? I mean, we could easily sneak there, but we were just casually walking down the street at this point. Pfft, like the kingdoms are that cooperative. It'll take at least several days before Vale even considers warrants. Roman bit down on his cigar. And I doubt any of them with a brain will come knocking with you around, kid. I paused considering what he said. That's fair, I suppose. Roman snorted. Yeah, just expect the Atlas military if they really want your ass. He shook his head, clearly fatigued after everything that happened. Hey, it's your adoring fans. He chuckled as crowds of people began to point at us, scrolls out recording. I, of course, waved at them happily. Do you guys not care that you're basically being recorded? It's good for my persona, Roman said flippantly. And that was also fair. Me and Mel work for Junior. Miltia added. There's a reason he's never overtly touched by the government. Copious amounts of blackmail? I asked. He was an information broker, along with his other illicit activities. Yup. Huh, neat. I thought for a moment. Think people would pay for autographs? Kid. Roman turned to me with a flat expression. That is a genius idea. A smile grew on his face. I'll need to capitalize on this before I get a new warrant. Neo, you good? I asked the shorter woman, only taking a few glances at how those pants hugged her butt. She gave a small smile, seemingly unconcerned. Please, Neo thrives on the attention. Roman laughed as we approached the club. It wasn't very far away, conveniently close to where the bullheads parked. He swaggered in, pushing the doors open. Honey, I'm home, he declared to a club full of people. Gone was the whole dance theme he had going on before. No, this was set up to watch the fights from earlier, lots of seating, lots of drinks. It only took a moment before people started clapping and cheering. Thank you, thank you. Roman took his hat off and bowed. You're all too kind, really. What's up with the standing ovation? I asked. You got any idea how many people the spider bitch ran out of Mistral or killed friends and family of? Not to mention, fuck the governments. Oh, and a healthy dose of fuck the tournament commission as well. Basically hit the triple with our little adventure. The people of the hour. Junior opened his arms, welcoming us back and gesturing to the seats at the bar. The crowd just hollering and whooping even more. I happily took my seat, a drink already waiting in front of me. This is not how I expected our return to be like. I downed half my glass in one go. At the moment, you're not wanted men in Vale. Junior just shrugged, turning back to the huge crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, we're closing. So get the hell out. Many booed and threw jeers at Junior, but they didn't really have any venom behind them. He was weirdly charismatic. Gonna debrief now? I mused, sipping my drink. You think this is a cop drama or something? Junior grunted. Well, Kid isn't wrong. Roman grinned. So, how's everything after we made our escape? Junior took his glasses off, rubbing his eyes. Shit, Roman. I can't cover you on this one. You're gonna get a lot of heat on you for this shit. I figured. Roman sighed. How bad is the kid in it? He jerked his thumb towards me. Up shit creek. The concept of a paddle doesn't even exist for him anymore. Ouch. I winced. Didn't know you cared, Roman. Yeah, well, I need to make sure my people don't get caught and snitch on me. Shuri. I smiled. He chose to ignore me. But what's the latest news? Well, you lot are blasted all over the news. Kid and you taking the spotlight. He took out his scroll, pressing it a few times and tossed it on the counter. Initial estimates are roughly 140,000 lean in damages. 27 dead. Worried about an unchecked individual with the ability to kill a grim of such caliber. The clips changed from time to time as a bunch of people all talked about our escapades. I wonder if Vacuo is nice this time of the year? I asked. If you like sand, sand, and more sand. Miltia rolled her eyes. There's that nice resort there, though. Melanie added helpfully. Oh. I was actually surprised by that. Neo stood up and excitedly waved her arms. Oh yeah, Shorty took a vacation there a few months ago, wouldn't stop bragging about it. Miltia added, a tired look on her face. We're getting off topic. Let's focus on the important stuff. Junior cut off that sidetrack. Now, what's this I hear about Roman downing a bullhead with a dildo? He raised an eyebrow. Pfft. I held my hands up to my mouth, catching myself from spitting my drink everywhere. Oh fuck me. Roman let his forehead hit the counter. Melanie and Miltia broke into giggles, Neo practically falling out of her seat, laughing silently. Even Junior began to cackle at Roman's misfortune. First off, it was the kid, he accused, pointing his finger at me. That's not what the internet says. I retorted, having brought my own scroll out and started searching up info. Congratulations, Roman. You're a meme. I hate you so much right now. Love you too, Dad. I chuckled. You're disowned. I turned to Neo. Mom, Dad's being mean to me. Neo lightly pat my shoulder. Can we talk about the important stuff now? Roman tried to change the subject. Fine. We did need to figure out what happened. All right, if you all are done fooling around. Junior put on a serious face. Honestly, this was a shit show. After we settle everything, I don't want to see you guys for several months. He swept his gaze at me, Neo, and Roman. I'm already having to call on several favors to keep the twins out of the news. That's fair. I'll disappear for a bit once we settle everything. I nodded. Yeah, I'll probably hit up one of my safe houses and take some me time. Roman sighed. Neo, you good? Neo just nodded, gesturing to him. I forgot you had that house. He just hummed. I assumed Neo was going to crash at her own little safe place. Well, if you guys got that figured out. Junior set his hands on the counter. Seriously though, people are asking a lot of questions here. It's obvious even to the uneducated masses that more was going on than what's being said. The government isn't going to start firing missiles in the middle of the city over a petty thief. Oh shit, I forgot about that. How were people not rioting after that? Believe me, people are very much upset. He refilled my drink without a comment. That kind of show of force was very unusual, and people noticed. Not to mention what the kid did to that Grim. He gave me a look, as if trying to see through me. Didn't you unlock your aura like a week ago? Melanie commented, eyes drilling into me. Actually, everyone was giving me looks. I can't help that I'm so talented. Truly, it's the only thing that can rival my handsomeness. Oh, brothers. Melanie rolled her eyes, only making me smirk. I think they realized I wasn't going to answer questions right now, so they moved on. Yeah, that's going viral at the moment. Isn't doing you any good, kid. People are kind of scared that a criminal is capable of bringing that kind of force to bear. He sighed. Well, they're also saying how you didn't use it on the authorities and actually save them, so it's about split with regards to calling for your head. Don't really care at this point. I shrugged. What happened to the tournament after I left? Well, after you destroyed all my odds with your second fight, it went about as expected. They kind of forced everything to continue, Nikos winning the finals, but she refused to accept the reward, saying she hadn't beaten her final opponent yet. Oh, Pirai cinnamon roll. Other than that, you can probably guess the chaos going on right now after all that crap. He took a deep breath. Now, he swept his gaze and landed on Roman. What the fuck happened? Yeah, I knew this was coming. Roman sighed again, nursing his drink. We raided her stashes like planned, but we didn't realize she had a very hot item hidden in there with all the loot. How hot, Roman? Atlas's next generation of mech and infantry weaponry. Roman answered nonchalantly. I only glanced at some of the bitch's notes, but stuff looked legit. Brothers fucking damn it. Junior shouted, turning away and clenching his fists. Fuck! No wonder they got so damn pissed. If Atlas found out. Yup, whole shit show that would be. Roman replied. But good news is that I managed to stash the other loot before making it out with this. He took a small chip out of his pocket and placed it on the counter. I assumed it was the same as a USB drive or something. Is that? He said quietly. Yup, a bunch of super classified Atlas military secrets, Roman nodded. Think Atlas would be interested in reacquiring this? Roman. Junior stared at him. You are one crazy son of a bitch. Yeah, we can probably do something with this. Worst case, Vale may want to buy it. Atlas won't show up with their military? I asked. Yeah, no. The Vale Council would throw a fit if Ironwood tried to pull a stunt like that. Relations are already a bit rocky after some issues in the past few years. Junior explained. Good news, we'll probably be making a lot of lean. Bad news, it's going to take a while to move something this hot. Well, you guys work out the details. I need to make a call. I thought about Pyrrha and felt a small pit in my stomach. I sought some privacy in the forever fall forest as I took out my scroll, pressed a familiar number. It rang a few times before a redhead appeared on the screen. Hey there, Red. Wilhelm. Pyrrha looked at me in shock. I thought I wouldn't hear from you again. You have my number. You could have called. I didn't think you would want to talk to me, she said quietly, and I couldn't help but sigh at what I probably put her through. We're friends, why wouldn't I? Even after what happened? Red, my woman literally kicked my ass every day for years for training. I deadpanned. That's practically a greeting for me. I sighed again. How you holding up? I know I left a mess behind. That's an understatement. She frowned, a little bit of venom in her words. We were threatened to continue the tournament. I paused for a moment, remembering what Junior said. Threatened? Do I need to go have a chat with someone? My manager is already talking to my lawyers. I guess I'll keep my hands out of it then. I would let it go this time. Also, I talked to one of the teachers from Beacon. I accepted a scholarship. Oh, I hear Beacon is a good school, but won't you get some flack for going to a school outside the kingdom? I could only imagine with her popularity back home that they were all expecting her to go to Haven. Maybe, I don't know. She mumbled. My manager said something similar, but you were from Vale, so I wanted to go there. Oh, Red, I'm going to stop you, she said with a certain amount of confidence in her voice that surprised me. Stop me? I questioned. I'll make you stop being a criminal, she declared. I couldn't help but smile at her words. The way she said them was so genuine. Do you think you can? I wanted to poke her a little bit. She furrowed her brow. I know you're strong. Pyrrha, that wasn't anywhere close to my full strength. I admitted. I wanted to see what her resolve looked like. She was quiet for a moment. A lot of people are trying to speculate your semblance, but no one can agree on anything. She looked at me, as if wanting an answer. Semblance, huh? I eyed her. Tell you mine if you tell me. Polarity. She interrupted me. I blinked at her. I was kidding. I face-palmed. But that was interesting, and I had questions regarding the applications. Oh. She looked down. That's fine, just. I sighed, opening up a portal right behind her. Space control. I spoke, almost making her jump in fright. Wilhelm. She turned around, looking at me in utter shock. Hey, Red. I greeted as I stepped over. The scene revealed was an empty park minus us two. Space control. She muttered, connecting several dots. That's scary to think about. She looked up at me. Is it a good idea for you to be here? Are you going to arrest me, Miss Huntress? She blushed slightly. I'm not technically a huntress yet, only becoming a huntress in training, legally, when I start my schooling at Beacon. I couldn't help but smile again at her nervousness. I never did apologize for what happened. I moved towards a nearby bench, sitting down. She followed me, sitting a little close, but I still saw her hesitance. For the damage. Oh, I don't really care about that. I admitted. Insurance would most likely cover everything, though I can look into that to clear my conscience in case someone got screwed over due to my flippancy. Wilhelm. Well, I am a master criminal. I smirked as she just huffed in annoyance. I was talking about how we left things. I looked up at the sky. The moon was surprisingly beautiful once I got used to it being shattered like that. I was a lot like you not too long ago. Like me? She tilted her head, not understanding. I told you I was alone for most of my childhood. I mean that literally. I had no friends, no one to confide in alone. I explained as she looked like she wanted to crawl under a rock at my statement. I understood it, the embarrassment, the depressing thoughts she must have about herself. I knew them all too well. I don't know how I would have felt if I thought my first friend abandoned me. Our situations weren't a perfect mirror, but it was enough that I can sympathize quite heavily with her. We're really friends? Pyrrha asked quietly. Of course, I said genuinely, as she relaxed a bit, and I saw a bit of smile hiding behind her neutral expression. Want a hug? What? A hug, I reiterated. I'm gonna hug you. She made a little sound as I wrapped my arms around her, but she didn't seem to dislike it either as she reciprocated all the same. I'm still going to stop you, she whispered. Well, then you need to get stronger, huh? We finally parted, a small blush on her face. Try not to focus on only that, though. You have a chance to make some more friends. I didn't want to be the reason she couldn't have a fun school experience. Gods know I missed my chance. That's another reason I wanted to go to Beacon. She admitted. I thought it would allow me to escape the fame. I'm tired of everyone just propping me up like some kind of idol. Probably, but don't expect it all to just dissipate into the air. It was a good idea. You can't expect people to willingly ignore your pedestal if you won't come down to meet them halfway. I know, she muttered. I've never been good with people, though. She looked embarrassed by the admittance. I took acting classes when I was younger to help me fake it in front of the cameras. Okay, the thought two of you trying to act in a setting like that is a little funny. I would pay money to see her in a play or something. Actually, I was a part of the theater club in my school. Theater? They have clubs for that. She looked at me, and I guess it was a foreign concept to her, in a world with monsters like this. It was more common where I'm from. I waved it off as I sighed again. I'm going to have to disappear for a while, Red. Disappear? Because of what happened? Yeah, Vale is probably going to put out a warrant for my arrest. Figured I'd get a head start and hit the road before then. Will I still be able to talk to you? Where I'm going, it'll be hard. But I'll make sure to check in when I can. Oh, I see. She looked a little depressed at that. How long do you think you have to hide? Few months, probably. I think I should be able to pop back up in public by the time Beacon semester starts. Really? She lit up at me words. I promise, I said as I resolved myself to show up even if my face was still being blasted everywhere. I saw so much of the old me in her. I could not be there when she needed moral support. But I was running down the clock on my stay here. I wanted to finish up a few more things before I departed. Chapter 114. I was walking through the market, a small smile on my face as I just eyed everything around me. There were many stalls, some people hawking their wares, and some legitimate storefronts with open doors, beckoning people to come and take a look. It really was a big difference from the more residential and industrial aspects, which would be expected, except there were plenty of smaller versions of this happening here or there. If there was a demand, then there would be a need. I doubt everyone living on the fringes of Vale would want to walk all the way here then back home for some light grocery shopping. But I digress. I was drawing attention, but I didn't care so much right now. Isn't that? Wasn't he a criminal? Should we call the police? I heard he killed a Titan. Is he single? I almost tripped hearing that last whisper. It was an older woman, a much older woman. Nope. I wanted to evacuate immediately after that, but something caught me attention out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look at a man siding at a stall, shirts hung everywhere. Taking a few steps over, he seemed to notice me. See anything you like? We have the latest. He stopped, staring at me, then looking at one of his shirts hanging up. I walked up, staring him in the eyes, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're doing good work. I'll take 5. He turned around and quickly pocketed the money after I picked out a few sizes, eyeballing them. With my new prize, I made my way through the market for a little while longer, grabbing something here or there. Saw a couple things I would be grabbing as gifts. Didn't want to see Kunu again without getting her a little something. My cute little daughter. Honestly, I kind of want to see Yasaka again as well. Izzy, I wanted to hang out with her some more. I couldn't help but sigh as I thought about everyone I had been away from so far. I really want to complete my project and get my house connected everywhere. To have everyone know each other, so I don't have to keep jumping around when I want to visit the people I care about. As I finished up and approached Junior's club for the final time in the next few months, I stopped my moping, putting on a small smile. I'm back. I pushed open the doors, announcing my presence. The familiar faces of the gang met mine, some half-hearted acknowledgments. It was sort of a going-away party, if it could be called that. More like sitting around and drinking until we had to skedaddle. Kid, we got an update. Roman waved his hand in the air to grab my attention before pointing to Junior. Got a tip that Vale's going to make an announcement in solidarity with Mistral later tonight. Junior sighed, rubbing his eyes. Didn't think they'd do it this quickly. Well, we prepared for the worst. I shrugged. You have somewhere to go? Miltia casually asked, though she didn't do a good job of hiding that worry in her tone. I guess I could go visit my daughter and her mother for a bit. I waved her off. I would see if I could stop by before heading to Skyrim with Rin and Artoria. You have a daughter? Miltia's shocked expression mirrored everyone else. Is that weird? I asked. Damn, I have a granddaughter. Roman lit his cigar. You're not my dad. I deadpanned. Actually, I put the adoption papers through. Roman retorted. Wilhelm Torchwick, it has a nice ring to it. I'm 20 years old, I think. Time wasn't a perfect, measurable variable when in the land of shadows. Hi, 20 years old. I'm dad. Roman looked very impressed with himself. I hate you. I know. He smirked. Can we go back to him having a daughter? Miltia interrupted, even Neo looking interested, poking Roman to stop his shenanigans. What? I looked around. Is that so weird? Yes. Yup. Definitely. Neo gave a thumbs up. I don't care. I rolled my eyes, taking out my scroll and revealing a picture of Kunu. It didn't show her tails, thankfully, just her fluffy ears. I actually took a picture of my phone's screen, so I would have it on my scroll as well. Didn't turn out bad at all. A faunus. She's too cute to be your daughter. You actually convinced a woman to sleep with you? I looked around the room. I'm feeling very attacked right now. And she's not my daughter by blood, kinda got adopted by her a while ago, and this is how it turned out. Yeah, figured since she looks at least 10. Would be weird if you were the father. Miltia admitted. The other nodded in agreement as I gave a flat look. Okay, so you all just wanted to take shots at me. Why did I expect any different? I put it away. Stop being a baby. Miltia huffed, tapping her finger on the counter. You could bring her around, or something when everything dies down. My club isn't a daycare. Junior grunted, but shrinked down when Miltia gave him a death glare. Whatever. He dropped it pretty easily. Just don't bring her around Roman. He's a bad influence. Pretty sure he's racist. Melanie added. I'm not racist. Roman defended himself. I'm offended that you would think so low of me. Aren't you constantly saying racist shit towards Faunus? Melanie asked. First off, he set his cigar on an ashtray. I do that on purpose because the majority of the Faunus we work with are involved with that white Fang terrorist crap. So you just do it to piss them off? I looked at him. The corners of his lips curled up. Why else? Do you really think I would care that a person has animal features or not? That's a really fair point. You would definitely spout racist shit against humans if it had the same effect. Glad you understand me, kid. Roman nodded in delight. That being said, if I hear any of your crap around my daughter, if I ever bring her near you, which is very unlikely, I will break your legs. Oh wow, you really are a dad. You got that whole. He waved his hands. Dad aura going on, he stated, letting out a chuckle. Don't worry yourself, brat. I don't go picking on kids for shits and giggles. Junior was liberal with the drinks. Not that I would ever be paying here again anyways. I make sure to remind Roman of his little deal whenever possible. By the way, I got going away presents for everyone. Oh, kid, you shouldn't have. Roman spoke first. I take cash or check. I took one of the shirts out of my ring and tossed it at his face. So you all can remember me fondly in these coming months. I passed the remainder around. Really? Junior held a shirt up to himself. I know, I didn't think it was possible to make a t-shirt so sexy. I shook my head, forcing myself to look away. Junior, I hope you'll use this newfound power of yours for good. To wear something that's spectacular, panties will drop from just glimpsing it. You're the worst. Miltia looked at her shirt. Going right in the trash. Melanie added. Well, I needed a rag for when I changed my car's oil. Roman nodded. I looked at Neo, who was now wearing the shirt. I knew it, you're the best. I gave her a thumbs up. She happily reciprocated. They were shirts with my face plastered all over. You know, I suddenly feel like the club just got significantly more class. Weird. Fuck off. Junior snorted. Hee hee. I lightly laughed as he threw the shirt back in my face. As fun as this is. Roman pushed a cigar against the ashtray, putting it out. I really want to skip town before they get smart enough to lock the city down. That's probably for the best. Junior nodded, with perhaps a tiny bit of sadness. I don't think he would admit it, but he likes having people around like this. I guess I'll head out too. May as well. I had a few more things I wanted to check out here before departing the world for a while, otherwise I was in the wind. Stop fucking pussyfooting around and go. Miltia huffed, but at this point I could kind of read between the lines. She wanted me to get going before I ran into any trouble. Hug! I offered, arms open. She rolled her eyes. If it gets you out of my hair faster. She held her arms open as I scooped her up. She made a little noise in embarrassment before I let her go. I'll see you in a few months. Fine, whatever. She crossed her arms and turned away. I felt a little tug on my sleeve. Neo was looking at me bashfully, holding her arms open. Really? I looked at her. She tried her best to put on an innocent face. No stabbing, I stated, holding my arms out. She pouted but gave a silent giggle and a quick hug. We'll stab people together later. Felt like I didn't get to know her much these past days, though we got along well all things considered. That got a genuine smile from her. Sheesh, this mushy crap is going to make me sick. Roman gagged audibly. And what's up with you, Neo? You don't usually get attached that easily. Neo shrugged her shoulder before flicking her wrist. A wallet appeared in her hand as we all stared at her. You know what? Well done. I admit my defeat there. It was a fake wallet. Well, not really fake, but just something I picked up here randomly to store my lean in, so I wouldn't have everything stored in my ring to retrieve. Surprisingly, though, she took it completely without my noticing. Melanie. I turned to the other twin. Fuck you. She gave me the bird. I nodded. Fuck you too. I replied, earning a small smile from her. Lastly, Junior. You were surprisingly not the most annoying person I've ever had to work with. Junior said with a certain amount of honesty in his voice. That will always be Roman, though you are in the top 10. Top 10? I asked. Roman, I need tips on how to score higher. Get the fuck out of my club. He snorted, though it lacked any kind of venom. What about me? Roman feigned indignance. Roman. I paused, trying to think of the correct words to say. Your hat is stupid. That's it, you're disowned. He exclaimed. We both sat there for a moment before chuckling. Kid, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but you are someone I have come to tolerate. He practically choked up. Thanks, Dad. I deadpanned. Any time, kiddo. He shot me with a finger gun. Well, time to leave on that utterly low note. Tossed the shirt back at Junior. See you all, hopefully in a few months. I opened up a portal and left. I stepped into the Forever Fall forest one more time. Definitely my favorite place on Remnant so far. I could easily see myself building a home out here. Flipping my hand over, I took out the lamp, summoning my genie. Hello again. Jin greeted, stretching like she had been sleeping. How may I service you, my master? She smiled. You mean be of service? No. Of course. I didn't even question it at this point. Hey, is it uncomfortable being in my storage space while you're in your lamp? She tilted her head at the question. I suppose that falls under my uses, technically. She mused. It is a strange feeling, like finding my house suddenly adrift in the sea without anything on the horizon. I can keep lamp out for now on if you want. If that would not be too much trouble. She seemed pleased. You know, you're allowed to ask things of me. The worst that I can do is say no. I didn't want her to be afraid of me. It left a strange feeling in my stomach. She smiled bright at that. If that is what my master desires. She walked up, touching the lamp. The relic has certain features to it, she stated, as it began to shrink down to a size which I could fit in my palm. Well, that's convenient. I blinked at the small object now. Makes me wonder if I can mess with it some more. I rubbed my chin and thought. The outer shell seems entirely malleable, even with the concepts woven into its creation. Did your brother gods not think anyone would mess with it after it was created? Is that a question? The dry look she gave me basically confirmed my guess. They weren't the most intelligent sort, were they? She let out an uncharacteristic groan. Is that a question? I sensed some hostility there. I laughed. But I do have a question to ask. She perked up immediately, the area around us freezing in time. She played it up, Magic's floating around us, building up the atmosphere. Ask your final question for the century. I thought of something. A mischievous smile formed on my face. Actually, I changed my mind. She just blinked, nodding as the effects around us dissipated. You know what? I actually will have that question now. Once again, time paused. What is your? Changed my mind. Time resumed. On second thought. Time paused. Nah, better not. Time resumed. Oh, I suddenly thought of. No. She huffed, crossing her arms, pouting in annoyance. Fine, fine. I'll do it for real. I tried to appease her. Perhaps I was teasing her too much just now. But she didn't shake her annoyed expression. I walked up as she turned away, arms wrapping around her. Jin. I lightly caressed her cheek. I'm sorry I went too far. She huffed again, not answering. Jin, what can I do to apologize? I whispered, next to her ear before they truly caught my attention. They were very cute, very pointy. I couldn't help myself. Nom. HNN, she made a little sound. A squeak in surprise escaped her lips. I paused, releasing her ear, looking down at her face, which was turning a bright shade of red. Oh my, are your ears sensitive? Made me want to keep nibbling. Is that a question? She turned even redder. I want to speak with Drake. She changed the subject. I raised an eyebrow, summoning the boosted gear. Hello, Jin. Drake greeted happily. Hello, Dryag. Jin was happy to return the greeting. It was probably something she wasn't used to, an experience that was still novel. I have a question. Oh, ask away. Is it possible to take things into that gauntlet? She pointed at the boosted gear. It is. Do you wish to come and stay in here with me? Can I truly? Her eyes lit up. Huh, I didn't think about that. If he agrees, and that's what you want, I added. It would be a good way for her to have company instead of me keeping her in her lamp all the time. I have never had a roommate before. Drake seemed amused. Though, this is more of a prison for me, you would be sequestered to the side, unfortunately. But we will be able to speak whenever you wish. Jin looked excited at the prospect, and I'm glad it made her happy. Does that mean I'm out of the doghouse? She turned back at me, a small twitch on her lips. Ask your question. She still turned slightly red. All right, I won't tease you anymore. I put my hands up in surrender. Humph! She raised her hands and time stopped again. This is really a nice application of magic, Drake commented. Thank you. She beamed again. At least someone appreciates my effort. She glared at me. Okay, I deserve that. I admitted before getting serious. Since we're leaving soon, I figured I would see the origin of the Grimm. It was on the old man's list. He was curious how they came about, but at this point it was probably an easy to guess at who created them. The familiar scene occurred, knowledge flooding the surroundings, conveying their contents in more than just words. The brother gods, one of light and one of darkness. It was the god of darkness who created them Grimm. His motivations were hard to discern. I suppose I didn't word my question as broadly to allow that. It shifted as many types of Grimm were created, some by hand, some mutations, and others surprisingly evolved over time, or with a purpose. The older they became, the more intelligent until they cast off their construct origins and became something akin to phantasmal species. Fascinating. I made many mental notes until the visions shifted again. A woman appeared on the screen, becoming the predominant focus. Red eyes, pale skin, curse marks on her body. She stood above these huge pools of inky darkness as more Grimm emerged in new shapes and forms. Salem, the queen of the Grimm. Jin revealed. She is. Step on me, mommy. What? The scenes collapsed abruptly. What? What? Chapter 115. Interlude 5. Ashbin, headmaster of Beacon, POV. I hummed to myself, stirring my hot cocoa gently, adding a dash of nutmeg to give it a little pop. Taking a sip, I leaned back and admired the taste. After living for an uncountable number of years, one learns to appreciate the small pleasures in life. It gave scope, context, to why the fight was worth continuing each day. Standing up, I walked towards the rotunda windows that circled my office, my tower that overlooked the school. A wizard I may no longer be, but a tower I still built myself. No longer did it house arcane secrets, magical facilities, and cosmic powers. Instead, it now overlooked the next generation. The eager, young faces of youth, the heroes of tomorrow. Those who would take up arms and defend humanity from the monsters that go bump in the night. It was not a position to lord myself over those below, to create a sense of self-importance, despite what my students may think. A reminder to see, every day when I look out the window in the morning, what it was I exactly fighting for. Every face that would one day not return to their friends and family, their happy faces carved into my soul, that even after reincarnating I would never forget. The sins I had to bear, so that one day this would no longer be necessary. Weapons would be let go, because monsters no longer banged on their doors. Unfortunately, today was not that day, nor would it be tomorrow, and most likely not be grasped within this lifetime. My idle muse was broken as the door to the elevator opened. "Hello, Glinda," I greeted my deputy headmistress. "Hello, Ashbin." She returned a small smile. "Have you started watching yet?" I was tempted. I smiled lightly. But you know how James gets when we start without him. She didn't seem to give it much thought herself. "What about Crow, is he?" "I'm here." A slightly slurred voice caught our attention, as the man shifted from his bird form back into human. It almost made me sigh how I couldn't even sense his magic anymore. Without direct contact, my magical senses were practically non-existent. Even my own magic that I gifted a few decades prior to him that allowed his transformations. "Good morning, Crow." I greeted politely all the same. "Heya, Oz." He raised a flask in greeting. "Crow, do you really need to start drinking this early?" Glinda scowled, though we both knew it was a losing fight at this point. No, after Summer Rose died, he never let go of that flask she gave him, its contents always filled. I suppose we all cope in our own ways. I certainly can't throw stones from my glass house. At least he can still be productive. It took me several lifetimes to get my act together after. I didn't wish to dwell on those thoughts right now. I didn't start drinking this early. He smirked. "I haven't stopped drinking since last night." "Well, that is certainly one way to rationalize it, I suppose." "Oh, Oz, I got something I wanted you to look at." He fumbled around his pockets until he realized he had a small sling over his shoulder. Ruby was having trouble smelting this. Even the smiths she visited couldn't make heads or tails of it. He took a rather strange-looking ingot of metal out and set it on my desk. I have never seen a metal like this before, which was certainly a strange thing in of itself. "Where did you acquire it?" I put my hand on it, and I couldn't help but have my eyes widen, a familiar feeling lightly pulsing out. Some kid was saved by the shorty. Got lost somewhere and she helped him or something. I was barely paying attention. He took another drink from his flask. Said it was a reward for Ruby. I told her I'd go ask some people if they knew what to do with it. "This metal is magical," I stated plainly, a mild amount of shock on my face. "Wait, what?" Crow paused mid-drink, staring at me. "Are you sure, Ashbin?" Glinda gave me a surprised look. I couldn't fault them for their reactions. Anything magical beyond dust was practically lost to the world. Even finding the most primitive magical tool would be a large boon unheard of in several lifetimes. To actually hold a metal that held magical power in it, it was a strange feeling. As reduced as I was, I could all-teased feel magic from touch. "I am almost certain." I nodded, staring at the strange metal. "Where did you acquire it, Crow?" Hopefully, he would have a more thorough explanation. He scratched his head, seemingly trying to focus his thoughts. Some strange kid was helped out by Rubes. She took him home, met Ty and myself. He was thankful for the help, said he got lost due to some semblance mishap or something. He paused for a moment. "Oh," and he pulled a rabbit out of his hat, said he was a magician. I blinked at his statement. That was certainly not what I expected. Like stage magic! Or something else. Well, he didn't seem like a wizard, Oz. And I didn't exactly ask him, if that's what you're asking. That was fair, and I'm merely grasping at straws here anyways. "Well, actually..." Crow paused again. "Ruby did say something about them sparring, and he beat her with a stick." "A stick?" Glinda asked. "Ruby is still very young, but her talent is undeniable. She would perhaps match the average at Beacon right now." "Well, I didn't really give it any thought and..." Crow looked like he just realized something. "She said it was after he cut a tree in half with the stick." I let out a sigh, But once again, I couldn't really fault him. How much of what Ruby said could be interpreted as merely her youthful imagination or exaggerations? That's still not evidence. Glinda raised a very fair point. She is correct. We've been fooled into thinking that a semblance was magic in the past. Well, we've fooled ourselves before. It was easy to jump to conclusions about such a thing when you truly hope for it to happen. Oh, right. He said his semblance was space manipulation or something. He leaned against the wall. Oh, well, I suppose that is still impressive in of itself. That explains it then. I nodded. I could think of many ways to utilize a broad semblance like that for the applications witnessed. And it isn't hard to assume he merely found the metal somewhere. Magic was dead. It wasn't coming back anytime soon. What kind of space manipulation? Raven also has a variation of that. Glinda asked, drawing our thoughts to Crow's wayward sister. It made tracking her down very difficult when she could open portals to people she had bonds with. I don't know. Crow shrugged. I didn't really ask him anything other than seeing if he knew Raven. That would be a quick conclusion to jump to for him, even if it was a complete shot in the dark. Just because semblances are related in some aspect does not mean the people possessing them are. What was he like? I asked. If nothing else, it might be beneficial to get him on our side. Dressed well, seemed like he had a sense of humor. Crow took another drink. Nice enough, I guess. He gave off the feeling like one of those aristocrat types in Atlas, but with a lot less snob. Crow was being flippant, but that was helpful information. I would need to check in with James, maybe ask around. Did you get a name? He scratched his head again. It was something long, didn't follow the colors. That's rare these days, Glinda added, seemingly used to Crow not giving detailed information. I did enjoy the color naming conventions that popped up, a show of unity across both faunus and humanity in a dark hour. But the fact that he didn't use it was good information in of itself. Just keep an eye open. He could prove useful to pull to our side if he has a powerful semblance. Right-ho, Crow replied nonchalantly. At that moment, the scroll began to buzz. A familiar man on the other end as I answered, his face showing up on the large screen at the front of my office. Good morning, James. I hope you are having a wonderful day. I wish, Ojpin. James Ironwood's stern voice came out of the speakers. The council is dragging its feet on several issues. Something I know all too well. I nodded at his plight. I too had to deal with the Vale Council too much for my liking. Are we all here and ready? James asked. You were the last one, Tin Man. Crow stated. James didn't deem it necessary to respond, his gaze turning to Glinda. Glinda, a pleasure as always. James. She nodded to him. The tension that never went away after their small tryst a decade ago. I decided it was a good idea to move along. I am looking forward to this year's tournament. We have quite a few good seeds. James' eyes lit up. Don't you dare steal all them again, Ojpin. He stared at me, though a small bit of playfulness in his voice. Lionheart already has a huge advantage, and I heard he was doing tours of Haven as well. Oh, that is smart. I rubbed my chin. Perhaps we should start doing something similar before the school year begins. Offer tours of the facilities. It may draw up some potential interest. I wouldn't be against it, but we're already running around before the year begins. We need to look into hiring more hands. Glinda replied. She's been pushing for more staff for a while now. All right, Glinda. Provide me with a list of potential teachers, and I'll give it a look. It is true we need to expand a bit, and more trusting hands around here would be a boon. Glinda practically beamed under my words. I already have one created. I will deliver it to you later today. Of course. Just as I would expect from the woman I chose as my successor for Beacon Headmaster. As fun as this is, can we start? Crow interjected. Yes, of course. We were getting quite sidetracked. We're a little behind, as it were. I began to play the stream of the tournament. Go fuck yourself, Lil Miss Malachite. Love, Roman Torchwick. Pfft. Crow spit his drink out in surprise, and I had been lucky. I also was not sipping my beverage, for I fear I may have had a similar reaction. What? Glinda looked on in shock. Roman Torchwick. Isn't he that thief in Vale? Why is he calling out Malachite like that? James immediately began to contemplate the message, seemingly uncaring about the words themselves. Forget that, Oz, that's the kid. The kid? I questioned until realization dawned. He is the one who gave the medal to Ruby. Yeah, would recognize him anywhere. What medal? James asked. Magic medal, gift to Ruby. Crow abbreviated, which was surprisingly accurate. I would like a further explanation later. James commented. But is there anything I should know about him? Nothing important just yet. He seems to possess a space-based semblance. I commented. James's eyes twinkled. Is that so? I suppose he would try and get his hands on this person himself. I would not stop him. If he were successful, then it would be beneficial to us as well. I took out my own scroll and looked through the information available. Wilhelm Henry Schweinorg. Certainly a unique name in this era. I'm going to pound him so hard, his mom is going to be jealous. His opponent providing some mocking words, and I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow at Wilhelm's face. This would not bode well for young Gundy. I could recognize a cold anger well enough. Why does his record say all buys? Crow was looking over his own scroll. Looks like someone is messing with the tournament. Glinda herself was pulling up her own information. They aren't even being subtle about it. Roman Torchwick, perhaps? James offered, but he usually doesn't venture out of his own lane. This is a far cry from his thefts. Roman Torchwick. He's a very notorious thief here in Vale, but he's never been close to a priority. He's smart enough to stay away from anything that drags too much attention, hurting innocents, murder, theft of government property and such. Why would he be doing this now? It is a good theory as any. I agreed with James's initial assumption. Behold, the cameras shook from the arena, the entire thing filled with smoke as one of the fighters was blasted out of the ring. And Wilhelm just casually strode away without another word. A dust bomb, James muttered. No, that was just a crystal. How did he achieve that kind of payload with only a single crystal like that? Most peculiar. I agreed. As much as I hate to admit it, it was a sufficient strategy to deal with an armored opponent like that. Glinda grumbled. Please, we all know he wasn't doing that as a strategy, did? Crow rolled his eyes. Quite. And I do not believe it was technically against the rules. I stroked my chin. James didn't seem to mind, either, as he kept rather quiet. He was quite the stickler for rules, but he also appreciated a creative use around them. If you all wouldn't mind, how about we fast forward to his next fight? I wish to see this young man again. Whatever. Crow didn't seem to care. The next few matches don't look like they will hold any suspense. If you wish to jump ahead, I'm not against it. Glinda also agreed. Go ahead, Ashpin. James agreed as well. I'm also a bit curious. Very well. I began tapping away at the screen, catching up with the live broadcast a bit until this Wilhelm appeared again for his next match. Here we are. He took a corner of the ring with a new opponent. That is Cobalt, I believe. James spoke first. I was eyeing him previously. I thought his semblance would be quite beneficial as a specialist. I don't see his semblance listed anywhere. Glinda frowned, staring at her scroll. I have good people under me. James smirked. We narrowed it down to a few possibilities, but they all would be a boon to have. James was usually quite proficient with his information gathering. I had no reason to doubt him. We all silently watched the upcoming fight. Young Cobalt was the first to engage, and I could immediately tell he was outmatched. Wilhelm barely moved from his starting position, never unsheathing his unique-looking sword. He used the barest effort necessary to deflect or block each attack Cobalt initiated. Cobalt eventually retreated back, as they started to exchange some words. Not something rare in these types of matches, but the content was quite interesting. Some kind of precognition. Wilhelm voiced his thoughts on Cobalt's semblance. I looked up at James's face that seemed to confirm the young man's guesses. He has good eyes. I commented. No, Cobalt revealed it as a sort of danger sense. A more whimsical variation of precognition, one I have not heard of before. But his next words were the most surprising to hear. Why do none of them come close to the danger you give off? James, do you have information on Wilhelm? I asked. It appears as though this young man is going to have my undivided attention for now. If what Cobalt said was true, then this young man is someone we need to protect before Salem's forces are able to get their claws into him. Supposedly more dangerous than even Haven's teachers. I know they aren't the peak of huntsmen, but they are still extremely well trained and have decades of experience. Even if Cobalt was exaggerating, they needed to know more about this Wilhelm. Too many things are starting to appear around him that were strange. Too many coincidences. I'll have my people look into the records, but that isn't a name I can recall off the top of my head. James replied, "It's possible he's from outside the kingdoms, but that is a long shot." And Cobalt all but confirmed that Wilhelm was holding back, substantially at that. I think we all held our breaths when he finally moved. The cameras didn't even correctly catch what happened. One moment he drew his sword, the next, Cobalt was falling to the ground in a puddle of blood, and Wilhelm was sheathing his blade once again. "How old did his application say he was?" I asked. 20 years old. Glinda replied. "What?" James suddenly shouted, turned away from the screen. "James, is something the matter?" I looked up at him. "Ozzy, change the channel to the news." I blinked at his comment. We weren't quite caught up with the live stream yet, but it seemed rather important. I messed with the device until a large breaking news flashed across the screen. We received word that notorious criminal Roman Torchwick and his partner Wilhelm Schweinorg have stolen a bullhead with Mistral authorities in pursuit. We have yet to calculate the damage they've caused in their wake, but my sources say that lethal force has been authorized. What the hell? Crow reeled back at the scene of a bullhead being chased by several more of Mistral's insignia on them. His words echoed my own thoughts as well. What happened between the end of his last match to now that he was now a wanted fugitive? The Mistral authorities were gaining on them, prepping their weapons, which would be a slaughter on that civilian craft they were trying to escape on. That was, until the back hangar door of the criminals' bullhead opened up, revealing Wilhelm staring at them from the distance. Suddenly, several swords appeared around him and shot out at the oncoming authorities. But that isn't what grabbed my attention. I couldn't help but abruptly standing up, slamming my controls to pause the screen. "Ashbin!" Glinda exclaimed in shock as all eyes were on me. That's the relic of destruction. I pointed towards the screen, completely flabbergasted. "Wait, what?" Crow looked at me. "Isn't it supposed to be locked under Shade Academy?" James mirrored my own expression once he realized the significance of what I had just said. "Are you sure that's the relic, Oz?" "James, I personally stored the sword under the Academy. I would never forget what it looks like. How I wish it were that simple. Even its design was something not known to the greater world. The vacuo symbol not giving the details of their relic away. Oz, how did Sombrek get his hands on the relic?" Crow actually seemed a little worried himself. "I don't know, Crow. I don't know. I couldn't fathom how it was possible. The pocket dimension I created should have been inaccessible to anyone but the maiden whose magical signature I used to lock it in place." I hesitated, but I continued the video. At this point, we needed all the information we could get. The sword cut through the oncoming bullhead like a scythe through wheat. It made me question the other swords next to the relic if they were able to keep up like that. Magical items. Who was this young man? Holy crap, that is a big fucking Sifei Long. Crow muttered as the massive beast appeared on screen, grabbing everyone's attention. "Ashbin, how far away are they from us?" Glinda's mind immediately went to assistance. "Too far," I mumbled. "It would take a couple hours to get there if we left this moment." I watched as she clenched her hands in frustration. A Sifei Long of that size, it was probably a few centuries away from becoming a Titan. Even if we could muster some forces, it would probably take the Atlas military to put it down. And even then, it was probably smart enough to submerge if the fight looked unfavorable. "Ether cannon!" The words of young Wilhelm echoed out through the video. The boy appearing high up in the sky through a portal, a question I had before now answered. But my attention was more on his glowing sword and the unleashed attack that seemed to completely obliterate the large Grim. I was left utterly speechless. A feeling in my heart I had not thought would come again. A single word jumping to the forefront of my mind. Magic. "Ashbin, are you listening?" I was broken from my thoughts. Yes. I looked up at the screen with James. "I apologize. My thoughts have been all over the place these past few days. Can you repeat what you said?" I was going over the report by my subordinates in Vale. He grumbled, but let up with a sigh. "It would be easier if I was allowed a full operation. James, we both know the Council would never allow you to wantonly move in their territory with your military assets unless it was an emergency." James was many things, but sometimes aggressive took the top of the list. James grunted in agreement but continued. As I was saying, reports are that Roman Torchwick and Wilhelm Schweinorg were meeting at a place known as Junior's Club, but we can't seem to find them after they entered. We searched everywhere. My agents even infiltrated the establishment during late hours, but there was no sign of any of them. It seems we missed our window of opportunity. They are in the wind already. They have to have left some kind of trail. James slammed his fist on his desk. He was a prideful man. Getting outsmarted by a young man and a lowly thief probably didn't do his ego any favors. Not only that, but I can't even touch the owner because the council keeps stonewalling me. He practically growled. Junior! I muttered the name. Ah, I believe he is the information broker that Crow sometimes visits. It would make sense that he knows a few secrets the council does not wish to leak. Ashpin, I need you to sign some papers regarding. Glinda walked into the office and pauses when she noticed Ironwood on the screen. I apologize. I did not realize you were in meeting. Shall I come back? It's fine, Glinda. Ironwood hastily reassured her. It's nothing official. He emphasized what they were speaking about, or rather the lack thereof. I see. I suppose I shall listen in then. She stepped behind me, setting some papers on my desk that I would no doubt be going through in a few minutes. James noticeably perked up now that Glinda joined in. I resisted the urge to lightly tease them about it, but I held back the urge. Their relationship was already an awkward one. I did not wish to rock the boat anymore. And what is your next plan of action, James? Well, I already have my people looking up every suitable physician with the correct credentials. He stated. I let out a long sigh, taking my glasses off and rubbing my eyes. What? Glinda looked at me. Crow decided to contribute the theory that Wilhelm Schweinorg is the summer maiden who had a sex change operation. James has taken that theory to heart. Glinda blinked at that, before face-palming. James! I know how it sounds. James cut her off. But hear me out. We know he possessed the Relic of Destruction, which requires the Summer Maiden to access below Shade Academy. That doesn't prove anything, James. Maybe he's working with the Summer Maiden. Maybe the maiden stumbled on the sword at some point in the past 100 years or so, and sold it, not knowing what it was. Glinda offered a very valid explanation. Then how do you explain the magic? He countered, but neither me nor Glinda had an answer to that, so he continued on. James clicked a few buttons on his console, bringing up a close-up of Wilhelm Schweinorg. Look at his features. He pointed at the screen. The cheekbones, the angles of his face. They're too delicate, not to mention the curvature of his nose. My people analyzed it, and they gave a 42% chance of it belonging to a female based on comparisons. He didn't finish there. Not to mention the testimony from your own student, Coco Adele. Coco, Glinda asked. How does she know him? They met at a clothing store. According to Coco, Wilhelm made comments regarding her choice in fashion, which they had an argument about it. James nodded to himself. James, that is approaching the boundary of sexism. I pointed out, Glinda seemingly raising an eyebrow in response to his words. I know how it sounds, but tell me I'm wrong, that this isn't behavior predominant for women? That's not untrue, Glinda admitted. Objectively, I can agree that is behavior I would expect from a female opposed to a male. Not to mention that Crow himself said that Wilhelm seemed soft and delicate when they first met. You know how much of a womanizer he is. While I would never take his word as gospel, he is technically an expert in this area. James stated. James, he was saying that to mess with you. Oz admitted, we have ample evidence to at least give credence to the theory. James turned back to me. The relic under the watch of summer in his possession, his apparent ability to use magic. Statistical evidence of his features, leaning towards a female variation. His behavior with Coco, even with Glinda's agreement. And Crow's words added on. I blinked for a moment, mulling it over. Truthfully, it was quite a few coincidences piling up. All of it mere circumstantial evidence, but when presented all together like that, it started to paint a vague picture. I still can't fathom a way for him to have acquired magic. All tests in the past several centuries shown that my magic could not be passed down genetic lines, regardless of if it was me or the maidens I gifted magic to all those years ago. Those 4 girls, I never conceived that they would suffer a fate similar to me. But instead of reincarnated like I do after death, the magic I gifted to them was instead transferred to the person they were thinking about at their last moments, or rather, the woman. But if no woman was in their thoughts, it drifts through the world and attaches to a woman at random. The thought of Salem doing something similar never crossed my mind. I refused to believe she would ever trust someone enough to give up a portion of her magic to them. As much as I didn't want to admit it, fine, I acquiesced. The evidence, and I use that term very loosely here, seems to support the notion. James looked rather smug, and Glinda, surprisingly, didn't admonish me for the confirmation of James's theory. Brothers, help me! I can't believe I'm even considering this.